How many times have your players dropped the ball, missed the point, derailed your entire scene, and you're like, the treasure's right there. This NPC is obviously supposed to be important. This was supposed to be a serious dialogue scene. Stupid players. Hello Game Masters and welcome back to GM Genie, the channel that gives you the tips and techniques to take your game mastering game out of the box and off the rails. Players are just the worst part of any RPG, huh? The thing is, when players derail your story, 9 times out of 10 it's because of one simple reason. Your prep is overspecific. You see, Game Masters have a problem. We like to write scenes. Scenes are cool. We all, in the life of the Game Master, we see scenes happen in a movie and they look cool and we say, I want to run a game that's like that. And then we write it down in our own way and it's just perfect. And you get to the table and the players do something else and you're like, whether you encourage ad-lib at your table or not, your players are going to take your scene and do whatever they want with it. So instead of writing a scene that can be derailed, write something that can't. Anytime you picture a scene in your head, stop. Don't write it down. Instead, break it down into 2 things. What happens and how. So let's say you picture the PCs are all in this place and this NPC mistakes them for this other person and that pulls them into the adventure. Instead, write, the PCs get mistaken for other people. Here's how that would happen if they're all together, and here's how it would happen if they're all separate. Don't write, these clues are in the princess's bedchamber from the night she was abducted, and you know specifically which knowledge rolls they have to make to uncover each clue. Instead write, she got abducted in this way, and here are the clues how PCs might discover that. If they're looking here, if they're looking there, and this clue really could be any place that they choose to look. It's easy to write a scene where the players hit this information or this object or this plot twist in this way in this place because you have some cool visuals imagined for that place. Well, what you can do with this method is write what that information, plot twist, object is, then write how they might encounter it with this NPC or in this place or in a more general area. When players are invested in some location that doesn't have the plot point in it, and they're asking questions, and they're investigating, and they're adding a lot of creativity to this place, you have a choice. You can either sit there thinking, wow, you are so far from the plot point right now, or you can have multiple hows produced and kind of move that what into wherever the players are invested. And use your imagination to come up with as many of those hows as you can, and make them location generic when you can. You won't always be able to. Some hows are linked to a certain location, and that's okay. But if you have a number of hows that can be doorways for this what, then anywhere the PCs go, and whatever they're doing, you can whisk your story over into their story, and give their story meaning. And they'll be like, I knew we should have checked out the warehouse by the docks. Yeah, I knew that's where that clue was gonna be. And it's not that scenes are bad, it's just that they have to be in a very controlled context to work. If you've written a scene for a moment you know the PCs are going to be bottlenecked into. The first moment they arrive at a location they've been trying to get to. Finally meeting an NPC that they've been looking for. It's just that those circumstances are very rare. So for every scene, ask yourself, can I separate the what and the how? Or could this scene actually be a how in a different what? But asking this question is definitely going to up your game. When your players go the wrong place, when your players split up and miss the big plot point, no problem. When they blow off something important, or make an enemy of someone who was going to tell them something important, or when they just forget the story. Just choose the how that fits what they're doing now. So how do you write it down? First I write down my what in just 1 or 2 lines. I don't write it this big in my prep, this is just for the video. After that I put a 1-word header for each how, followed by a 1-line description. If that how has a lot of details or judgment calls I'd have to make, I put those in as sub-bullets. Well, I hope this tool helps you find the story again the next time your players get away from it, and whisk it over into whatever they're doing like a genie. I do tips for writing and running your game every week, so subscribe if you haven't already, and leave me a comment with how you catch up with your players when they go running off script, and I'll see you next week.